Welcome to Outback Outdoors. Make sure you like, subscribe, and click the alert to stay up to date on all our new videos.
On a September morning, she came without warning, said, ain't it a beautiful day? The dust on her feet and songs she would sing, sang about flying away. They sang about flying away. And there's one place she wants to see, waiting on the last train to heaven. She hopes that she makes it on time, waiting on the...
Welcome to the Inspired Wild Podcast. We are here in Wyoming. It's so fun. I'm sitting here. We've got the Wamplers, Shelley and Justin. I'm here more as a support role this year. I've drawn this tag 7 years in a row, and for the first time myself and my daughter Avery did not draw Wyoming deer. I think we've been successful here for mule deer primarily because we were able to pattern. If they leave the pivot in the morning and they go into the sage to bed, if you'll set up, get the wind right and set up where they left, usually they come back that way. Let's talk a little bit about prospects, deer, what we've got found, what we're crossing our fingers for. Set the scene, what this buck looks like, because he is impressive.
He is impressive. Let me back up just a little bit. So I drew both tags. All along, the plan was to put the deer tag on the back burner. It took Justin 7 years to draw that antelope tag. I wasn't gonna, act like the antelope tag wasn't important. Early on, I'm like, listen, I drew both tags, but focus on the antelope. I never wanted to just, eat the tag, but if it came down to it, that was going to be the plan. So Larry, who's working the ranch, has seen this deer most of the summer.
Yeah, that's what it sounds like.
Yeah. Kind of living in the creek bottom near his house. Last night?
Yes.
We went down.
After you shot your antelope.
After I shot my antelope, we went down to just get eyes on him.
And did you pick him up right away?
Right away. And he comes out of the trees like, just
angels singing.
Just
velvet everywhere.
Velvet antlers coming through the willow bushes. I mean, he's
the biggest buck I've ever seen on the hoof.
30 plus inches wide.
Wyoming, Split Rock, it's always a beautiful morning. Set us up here. I just showed up. I literally just pulled up, and I was a little late getting to the party.
Deer season just started today. Larry lives right down the road here and has been seeing this big mainframe 3x mule deer that lives in the creek bottom here. Drove out this morning and we have eyes on him, or had eyes on him, in the willows down here. We've lost him. We have him marked, we think, but we're just trying to figure out the next steps.
So Justin and Larry and I will go back around and get another angle. You guys sit here in case he pops out.
Yeah.
We can at least see if we can get some eyes from a different vantage point. We're adaptable.
See what happens.
Cool.
Game on.
Break. Like I say, he's smart. Where he's living in all of these willows along the creek bottom, there's a lot of distance of grassland between where we can get to him, 300 yards. We've watched him twice, and we have yet to make a play on him.
And he hasn't moved.
20 yards tops.
Yeah.
And has not completely revealed his whole body.
No, we haven't seen his whole body.
From willow bushes and sage.
Yeah, I've kind of been playing scenarios over and over again, trying to figure out the best play, because that willow patch, is 150 yards long by 100 yards wide. So even though we we saw him in the same spot twice today. You know, who knows?
I do think he's still right there, but
Is it not worth us just going, Adam, work that edge,
no.
see if we can
He'll
see
blow
him?
out the back, he'll blow out the left, you won't get a shot. I really don't think you will.
If he goes out the back, you won't ever see him.
No.
The sky turned black the day you left, artist colors left to rest. Shades of gray would lead the night in from the west.
About to suggest the same thing. We could stare at willow bushes all day. Copy. We'll come back this evening.
Again someday, I am lonesome without you. I am so lonesome without you, my baby doll. I am lonesome.
Luckily for us, you know, same deer. We knew where he was at. We knew where we left him.
Put him to bed. We'd
Yep.
mm-hmm.
And so the goal was to go right back there at glass again. And we got out there, lots of eyes on the same spots. We glassed for a while.
By the time we saw him, I even said, we've got 30 minutes to make a play. That's not enough time.
Right.
Yeah, and he
There's
stood
no
up.
way.
There we are in the exact same position we were that morning.
We walked away and, you know, we get good night's sleep. We go back in. The idea this morning was, again, see if he's moving somewhere, put ourselves in the position where he wants to go.
Mm-hmm.
We couldn't do that last night because he was already where he wanted to be.
Right. And I think, so we knew going into this morning that we were going to be more aggressive, but we still had this kind of general mindset that we wanted to get eyes on him first.
Right. We needed to do something.
We needed to do something.
Right, because this
we
is
were
our
glassing
last day.
willows.
So we kind of came up with an idea. Hey, why don't we just apply a little pressure?
Yeah.
We went around, came in from the back side, and set up in what I thought was a really good spot. We had Justin and Larry literally just drove the truck in like they were checking fence or whatever, you know, and applied pressure.
Right.
Deer started coming out.
Yeah.
We're like, oh, all right, this is great. But he never showed.
He never showed.
He never came out.
We got a head count of the does.
Mm-hmm. And no buck.
No buck. Well, we got a head count on all of the does. It was worth a shot. I mean, if we were going to be aggressive on last day, I wish we knew now and we were here for 3 more days, because now we know where they come out. Now we know where the pinch points are.
But we weren't ready to throw in the towel quite yet.
No.
And I'll throw this back to last year. Dustin and Tanner, a buck came up out of the sage and went up into a box canyon. Mm-hmm. And the reason I call it a box canyon is it's basically there's no outlet. It's a canyon that goes back, and then it's just these rock bluffs. We're coming up on that place. Same thing happens, except this was a nice 4x4 mature buck. And he runs in there and heads up there. And I'm like, I know exactly where he's going.
Done this.
And I know where he's going to leave if he needs an escape route.
Yeah.
It looks like he's got decent mass.
Oh yeah, you need to step over here real quick.
It looks like you got mass.
Yeah, I mean that's a good framed buck right there.
So the idea was to set you and Matt running camera up towards where this shortcut is and where he would come out. And then I just literally go on a walk.
Yeah.
And allow my human scent to waft down in there. I wanted him to smell that and go, oh, I'm out of here.
Yeah.
And know that he was boxed in, and then have him sneak out, and he's going to try and sneak right by you.
Right. This is just to give me the best bet to draw. He was so loud coming down that hill that I thought he was going to come through our bush. I mean, right on top of us. So I came to full draw thinking, worst case, we give him a little noise, he stops. But he, for some reason, stops and makes a hard right turn. So last day, getting a little aggressive here, we saw some deer spook out of the bottom, run up this draw, and we actually had eyes on where he last went in behind the bushes. So we set up on the pinch point where we know that he was going to come out of here. Gave him a little pressure on the backside. Unfortunately, he came on the opposite side of the bush from me. I think he got really close. We could hear him. But as soon as he got to us, he turned hard right and took off.
We are back in Wyoming at Split Rock. This is part 2 of our Wyoming adventure with Justin and Shelley Wampler. We found a remarkable 3-point. It was literally hanging out down by where the blockhouse where Larry stays. And Larry had watched him, I guess, most of the summer, isn't that right?
Sounds that way, yeah.
But that buck disappeared.
He completely disappeared. We didn't even see him that last day.
It was 2 weeks. They didn't get even a glimpse of him.
I forgot how dadgum fun it is to rifle hunt.
I was kind of in the same boat. It had been a long time since I had rifle hunted.
As a bow hunter, you think that the whole time you're hunting archery season, you're like, oh, if I had a rifle, oh, I'd be done already if I had a rifle. Right. You go back during rifle season and you're like, what's going on? Like, Q told us as soon as he called, and he's like, you've got to get out here. He goes, you don't have a choice. You're coming back.
I just come through the driveway a while ago, and there's some in the corral, literally in the corral. Right now, just 3 does. So last night when he come out, Larry said he'd come out actually in the sage on the opposite side. All last week, he was literally 12 o'clock right here.
This little guy is pretty smart.
Oh, there's no doubt about it. I mean, and
what do you think he is? 6.5?
I do. I mean, he's an old deer, big old Roman nose, laid back.
Big old pot belly on there.
We watched him that whole time from the 2-track.
Mm-hmm.
There were half a dozen of us. It's not like he didn't know we were there, but he knew.
He just knows.
Just not to step out of the willows.
Absolutely.
I'm just gonna stay right here, and I don't care if you guys. You can't get that close to this deer.
So he finally reappeared a few days before we were set to go up there. Larry actually spotted him. He was starting to move back and forth between the house and the willows again.
Like he did in late August, early September.
Yep.
You know, he's in there. That's got to feel good going to bed that night knowing he's in there.
We went back and forth several times. We were like, all right, so maybe we just stay out here on the road and glass until we can see where he's at and then make a game plan. But if he books it from the corral straight to the willows, we won't have time to set up.
No.
Because we're still sitting back 300, 400, 500 yards trying to glass him just because we don't want to bump him.
Right.
And we're going back and forth, and I think I threw it out there. I'm like, Larry lives here. He comes out of that house every morning at the crack of dawn and could care less. Let's just drive up to the house. I mean, it'll be early, but he's used to seeing that car come through the driveway.
Right.
So let's just see if we can look out in the fields and the corrals and make a game plan from there. Mm-hmm. And then we can drop into that, and we should be within 200 easy.
Sang like a sparrow to heal our fights as parliament smoke will come alive like an M16 held by a juvenile just trying to get home.
But we could get into that irrigation ditch right behind the house without being seen, and then head out towards the corrals and the willows.
Right, because where he's living is about 4 400 yards
Yeah.
from the house.
Yes.
Yep.
And that's what we did. I mean, it worked out great. Dropped it in there, come around the side. We're looking at the corrals, looking at the willows, nothing.
He's nowhere to be found. Short of just kind of hanging out and glassing. There wasn't really a plan B, so to speak. But we went ahead and worked our way through the corrals and back around to the truck, kind of.
We actually walked back to the driveway, through
Yeah.
the corrals, got in the driveway. Q's like, I don't know where he could be. I don't know where he disappeared to. I don't know if it was Q or
think I spotted
Garrett or
him.
you spotted
Yeah.
him.
So big tree, little tree just to the left. Is that him? Is that wrong?
That's him. That's his horn. We got him.
And they actually went to the west.
Back down the creek.
Him and 15, 20
Yeah,
does
there's a bunch of deer down
had
there.
worked their way back behind the house and probably 300 yards to the west.
He's standing right
Yeah, I
beside
see
the bush. Let's hit this irrigation ditch and work down this irrigation ditch a little bit.
Okay.
See you climb, sing like a sparrow to you. Our fights with Parliament smoke.
Okay. Facing away from us. Oh, he's okay. There's two deer. I didn't see that. Oh, Lord have mercy. I wasn't getting steady at all, and I wasn't convinced whether it was just the positioning or so we readjusted the bipods. I moved. I stared at him forever, but I was confident in me. Like I know how to shoot, and I'm very confident in my shot process. That once it's there, I know I can squeeze it off and not, jerk through it. So I just waited and waited and waited, and he wasn't going anywhere. I can't get steady. I can't get steady.
Do you want down on your knees?
I just can't hold steady.
I want you to slowly put your gun on safety. There's a doe watching us right here, but I want you to crawl right up here.
Okay. And I bet I started squeezing through the trigger a handful of times. And then he'd move or I'd feel shaky. So I just took my time, and I feel really good about that. Mm-hmm. And finally he turned broadside and things were starting to settle down, and I thought, okay. Just took a deep breath, squeezed through the trigger.
Reload. Good job. Good job. Down. Beautiful shot. Good shot.
I watched him through the scope jump up and then kind of nosedive. And in my head, he nosedived into the river, and I thought, oh no, where'd he go from there? And Q, luckily, is much more with it than I was at the moment. And it turns out he nosedived, and that was
all sure.
Where'd
you hit him?
It was just right in the shoulder.
Right.
At your feet.
Where?
Right here. At your feet.
Oh, at my feet. Oh, son of a... I was expecting him to be in the river down there. At my feet. He's right there. Whew.
He's dead. A giant in the making. Good job.
And Q was like, he's right there. And I was like, I'm looking 100 yards past him, waiting to go down into the river to find him. And he's right there. And
was he as big as you thought he was?
Holy cow.
Yeah, he still is impressive.
But
for
I don't
sure.
think I even processed that. I think I just recognized it was him and it was go time.
Right.
So it wasn't until I walked up on him that I was like, oh, holy cow, this is a big deer.
Right.
I was amazed.
Did he?
Yeah.
What is he?
30 and a quarter.
Is he really?
Thanks for watching Outback Outdoors. We encourage you to comment below, and as always, like, subscribe, and click the alert to stay up to date on all our new videos.